Hi, I'm Brendan Burns with Azure Container Service, and I'm here today to show you how next-generation platform-as-a-service offerings are being built on top of container-as-a-service. So let's take a look at what we have right now. I have set up Fission, which is a next-generation function-as-a-service that runs on top of Kubernetes inside of a Kubernetes cluster running on Azure. So let's take a look at that Kubernetes cluster right now. What you can see here is I have a Fission namespace, and inside of that Fission namespace, I have a bunch of pods that have been deployed that are implementing this next-generation platform as a service. It's important to note that the entire platform runs on top of the container service that is provided by Azure. So let's take a look at how we can actually use this. I'm going to go over to the Cloud Console. Here's my cluster. I'm going to actually open up the web-based Azure Cloud Console that's in private preview right now. And what you'll see here is I have a set of tools installed. I can say things like kubectl, git nodes, and there we can see my kubectl cluster, or my Kubernetes cluster that's running inside of Azure. Now I also have the Fission Toolkit set up that's going to enable me to do function-as-a-service programming. And in this particular case, I'll give an example using JavaScript. So let's take a look at a simple JavaScript function. There we go. All it does is print out hello worldy. Now I can use the Fission Toolkit. It's an open source project that's available on GitHub that I'm running on top of my Azure Container Service cluster to create this function, to take this function and turn it into a service. So I can say Fission function create, give it a name, give it the code, and give it an environment. And this is going to be Node.js. All right, so that function has been created. Now, it's out there running in the cluster, but we need to bring some traffic to it. And in Fission's language, we say create a route. So we can say Fission route create function equals hello, pointing it at that function that I just created. And the URL that I want to serve to that function is hello. All right, so that trigger has been created. Now let's go over to the URL that is serving this, and I can actually say, all right, let's enter that URL that we just put in, hello. And what you can see there is my code, that JavaScript that I created here in the terminal, is now running up on the internet. So that's pretty amazing that we can, in a few handful of seconds, go from JavaScript code that is running on my machine, or is not even running, is been written on my machine, and is now running up on the internet. But what's even more amazing is that you can update that code in the exact same amount of time. So let's show you how we would do that. Let's go back over to the console here. I can actually say vi. All right, and let's get rid of that y. That was kind of a silly thing that I have here. We'll say hello world. This is a cool demo. All right, now instead of creating the function, I can do update. So I can say Fission function update, name equals hello, code equals hello.js, right? And that's going to have the effect of updating that function. Now, if I go back over to where my code is running here and hit reload, what you can see here is that that code has now been immediately pushed out to production. So I hope this is showing you the power of building a platform as a service on top of the container orchestration layer. Pushing containers to Kubernetes can be very quick. You do a Docker build, you do a Docker push, and then you run it. But it's not that quick. So if you layer a platform as a service, function as a service, on top of Kubernetes in Azure, you can have an even more immediate experience. So let's take a look again at how you might add a second function. All right, so now we're going to actually say, let's copy server2.js, and let's edit that, and we'll say, this is my second function. All right, so now we can actually say Fission. Sorry, I forgot to switch back to the screen. Fission function create. All right, I've created my function. Now I'm going to create a route for that function. All right, and now I've created that route. And now I'm going to go back over here where I have, this function is still serving that previous thing that I wrote. Now I can actually go to that new URL that I created, and I can see here that this is my second function. All right, and it's just as easy to delete one of these functions. Suppose I no longer want this thing to be serving. It was a mistake to have it up there in the first place. I can go over and say, Fission route list. There's my server2 route. Grab that. I can say Fission route delete. That route's been deleted, and now when I go over here and I try and load it again, I get a 404. So you can see with the power of a platform as a service running on top of Azure Container Service, you can have this amazing, fast, iterative development environment when you want to do function as a service programming. And of course, when you want to move to other forms of programming that may have longer running servers or batch workloads or anything else, you can drop down to that container as a service layer as well, all being provided by the managed container as a service running inside of Azure. Well, I hope that's given you new ideas about how you can use Azure Container Service to handle your workloads. Until next time, bye.